Welcome to Money Watch Weekly. I'm your host, Yoela Chomba. Now, we celebrate independence this coming weekend as a country. Zambia turns 57 years old, the first independence celebrations in the New Dawn administration. Upon coming into power 2 months ago, the first thing the president announced was that the economy was on its knees. The treasury was empty. So there has been discussions with the Bretton Woods organizations, which is the IMF and the World Bank, as Zambia still searches for that IMF deal. Recently, Zambia signed on to the Debt Service and Sustainability Initiative, DSSI, where there has been a suspension of debt repayments for a given period. With all that said, it seems Zambia will always depend on assistance from donors, or can it sustain itself? Can it ever free itself or be more self-reliant? It's a two-part show tonight. We have Mr. Kenny Nyangwe, a lead business consultant in both parts, and we will be breaking things down of how Zambia got to this point and how it can be economically independent going forward. Welcome to Spring 24 TV and Money Watch, Kenny.
Thank you very much, Owella. It's such an honor to be able to have this conversation with you and to be presiding over the future of Zambia and share the way forward.
Yeah,
you know, we've been keeping this information in our minds, but there we go. We can share it today.
I know, and there was no other person I thought would do this. You are top of my list together with Mnyumba Mtwale, but unfortunately Mnyumba can't join us. I sent his apologies. He has issues beyond his control that he's handling. But thank you so much for coming anyway, Kenny. I'm sure the two of us can take us through this discussion and take our viewers through this discussion and see how we can, open the doors for Zambia as a country. Now, starting with this question, Kenny, at independence in 1964, Zambia was poised to become one of the wealthiest countries in Africa owing to its raw materials. Today, however, Zambia is in the poorest nations bracket. We have been in this bracket for a long time. Can you take us through this journey?
Basically, 1964, we didn't even have 100 qualified people in the country to handle the industries that we took over from the British. So quickly we get into a possible disaster. But economically, we were not doing as bad as we are, because I believe when you talk about strength, from a currency point of view, the kwacha was very strong. And partly because we were mainly an exporting country. The challenge was that we were under one party system, where the government of the day did not allow people to become self-reliant, build industries, and become extremely successful. Everything was nationalized. It was supposed to be controlled by government. So come 1991, we introduced the multi-party and we brought in what we call a liberal economy. And in came in something called privatization, because at that particular point, before 1991, people believed that the economy was so bad, Zambia wasn't performing very well. So we needed a solution. And that's why there was a change in government. Now, with it came privatization. What we nationalized and controlled internally, was now given to what we call foreign direct investors. That was the birth of foreign direct investment into this country, coming at a large scale. And automatically, Zambia gave up its industry and industries. Before you know it, even the simplest of things like toothpicks were being imported from outside the country, and all the foreign excess or foreign exchange that we were earning before left. So we're dealing with two issues here. Under nationalization, Yoela, you would never be allowed to own a big industry. Under privatization, the liberal economy, you will not be allowed to own a big industry. They would rather give it to a foreign investor. So that should give you an idea what we're dealing with. So we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. So whichever way, it has led us to where we are today. So that's basically the background to how we got where we are today.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, obviously, we were young then in the First Republic or Second Republic, but basically in the UNIP government. Most of the industries that President Kaunda had set up in different parts of the country, you could tell that he was already in the mindset of decentralizing activity from the main towns. You had industries in Pula province, in Chipata, in Winilunga, even as far as Winilunga, Kenny, and of course Livingstone. But of course, along the way, it seemed we failed to manage those industries, which then led us into privatization. Today, I'm actually now skipping to today's government, I know that we still need to go through the genesis of what Zambia is, but in today's government, we've heard the President, Hakainde Hichilema, saying that starting next year, if even his budget will show devolution of power to local governments, and of course he wants to open up the country to investment. But we're not running away from the fact that we're still calling in investors. Okay, it's not investment it's not an environment for investment from a Zambia perspective. It's an environment from an investment from a foreign perspective. But we'll get into that. I want to find out, all countries borrow when they are in need of some extra reserves in order to manage their fiscal policy. That's a definite. Even the Americans borrow. But countries such as Zambia have been known to be perpetually in debt, a situation that today has seen us defaulting on debt repayments, the big story from last year. How did Zambia find itself in this position?
Remember, we are a consumption economy, and this is on the premise that us as black people generally we don't have products, we don't trade. We're consumers, so we're basically parasites. So when we borrow for consumption. We don't borrow because we want to build assets that we can use to generate income. Our friends who borrow for the right reasons. I mean, we borrowed to build roads. How many income-generating activities or assets did we create with the borrowed money? Zero. Roads infrastructure is an expenditure. Schools that we're talking about, all those, that's an additional expense to your budget, including the teachers, the furniture that you bring in, the expanded hospitals. But where's the base that is supposed to generate the income to sustain this? So you see how we got ourselves into this fix. We were borrowing for the wrong reason. Let's say we borrowed $1 billion to put up an irrigation system in Zambia. Automatically, we know that we'll be able to farm throughout the year. And that figure would give us an output of a GDP output of close to $10 billion if we did the right stuff. That is what we're talking about when we say you invest in assets, things that can actually generate income. But what we did was pushed most of that into government spending, right, which is civil service. And then as a result, we are now looking for assets that we can use to generate the much needed revenue to service the debt. I think we borrowed for the wrong reasons, and that's why we ended up where we are.
It's interesting. It's interesting now that the driving sector, everybody knows, the driving sector in the economy has been mining. But this has challenges over the years and eventually affected the country's economy. There has been talk over the past years, and now more than ever, the need to diversify our economy. Do you see this being the answer to our economic woes?
We talk about mining being our mainstay, and that's because of 70% of the foreign exchange that we earn coming from mining. But let me tell you what's interesting. We don't even know mining. We are not even participating in mining. Zero. Mining is threefold.
Despite the lovely prices on the market.
Exactly. We're not participating in mining. You tell me which Zambian is producing cathode. Right? And cathode is not even, it's still a raw material. It's not even at the entry stage of what is needed in copper processing. So meaning there's another stage that you need to get to in order to produce copper that is needed in China by industries. So you have mining, which is the excavation. You have mining, which is the processing. Then you have mining, which is the trading. You tell me at what point are Zambians participating in these value chains? We're still trying to be professionals. We're still trying to be engineers. We're not creating products, you understand? So as a result, you can't even claim mining as your major stay because you're losing out on billions and billions of dollars when you talk about mining. Right now, as we speak, there's a lot of interest when it comes to mining. And guess what? Most of the mines that are in Zambia are untapped. They're unexplored. So we have a lot of mineral wealth that we even don't understand ourselves. So in as much as we talk about mining, we're referring to it in form of taxes that we've earned through expenses that the mines make in the country. Most of the trading that is done in mining is not even done in Zambia. It's transacted outside our GDP. So it really doesn't count as an earning for Zambia.
Interesting. Now, we'll be going into a break now, but I want to end by asking this question. Can Zambia attain economic independence, and how can this be done?
Yes, we can, and we're going to show you through what is called trade agreements.
Great.
That's what Zambia needs to be getting into, trade agreements, not foreign direct investment.
Okay, so we'll take a break, we'll continue, and please take note, when we come back, we start from what you mean by trade agreements so that people can understand, and then we'll pick it up from there.
All right.
Hi, this is Simon Lane Television, and you are watching Morning Daily on Spring 24 TV.
It is a good morning. Try and sound just a little bit more convincing. I want some.
Great morning.
There we go.
We only have 19 women in parliament. So the women's voice is critically needed now outside parliament than ever before.
We will give them the respect that an opposition political party deserves.
You are going to
You need to finish the
Wow, we may have missed from yesterday. ERP and RARE chiefs suspended.
How many times have we been dragged to the court?
Some people will call us white-collar cadres.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
The grocery part of it.
Right, because I want to go into details of this same story, but thanks a lot for coming through. Have a good one.
So I'll start with this. This is the famous Tutene Mbalala.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome back. You're still watching Money Watch Weekly, and today we are looking at how Zambia can attain economic independence. We're continuing with Kenis Nyangwe, a lead business consultant, and this time we'll focus on how Zambia can leverage on its natural resources and take itself out of the economic woes it's currently facing. Welcome back, Kenny.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so before I took that break, I asked you, can Zambia attain economic independence? You said yes. How? You said trade. Let me say it. Let me allow you to say it yourself, and then explain to us what you mean by that.
Trade agreements.
Yeah.
Now, what you need to realize is the background behind why Europe, British came into Africa, because they lacked resources. They wanted products. Now, in the name of foreign direct investment, we asked them to come and control the production line of these particular products. What are you doing? You're denying yourself the ability to earn an income.
Yeah.
Now, here, let me give an example. There's a story behind Hass avocado to a point where it's being considered the next conflict product next to cocaine. And in Mexico. And the reason is because in the 90s, the President, Bill Clinton, signed a trade agreement with Mexico for them to be able to supply the United States with Hass avocados. We're talking about a $2.4 billion business for Mexico. $2.4 billion, right? Now, cartels have realized that there's huge monies to be made in the trade of avocados, and that's why they're stealing land from the farmers and confiscating profits from the farmers. Now, you see, that's a trade deal. Based on that agreement, a product is able to move from Mexico to the United States where consumption is actually happening. So here's what has been happening in Zambia. We've been doing what we call bilateral agreements instead of trade deals. Our Minister of Foreign Affairs just recently went to Italy, and all he did was say, I'm going to meet investors, and we'll be meeting them in dollar. There's about 30 investors that we're bringing. What you're doing is you're taking away your strength, your ability to produce, right, and sell to a market that is in need. You're looking at yourself as the small guy, when the guy who actually needs what you have is the guy on the other end. Now, what the problem is that we lack production of products. You don't take human beings into a trade deal like the way the development agency is about to go with a group of Zambians to Congo. We've been going to Congo for the last, I don't know how many years.
They've crossed into Congo. By last update I got this just about a few hours ago.
Yeah, but look, last year the Chamber of Commerce in Northwestern Province was sponsored by the mines to go and have trade talks. And guess what? You're sending people, you're not sending product. So as a result, you're just going to have an expense, enjoy, have a couple of drinks, and come back and still have issues. Now, if you have a trade agreement, you go to Congo, and Congo tells you you want milling meal. They'll tell you how much milling meal they want. They'll give you the metric ton. Then you come back and tell Zambians, can you produce this milling meal based on the requirement that Congo is asking for? You've got neighbors like Angola who've been crying for various products that you're producing. You're right? That's what I'm saying, trade. Now, let me tell you something. At what point do you service your debt? When you're borrowing or when you're selling? You understand? So you need to be able to sell something to earn an income in order to pay.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying trade agreements. And then when you look at the consumption, especially in the export market, you're looking at 18 million Zambians versus 7.4 billion worldwide. If you start producing commodities for the world, like avocados as an example, avocados, we have the climate, we have the environment, we have the capacity, but are we thinking in the production space? Are we thinking product? What we're looking at is who do we need to train and do capacity building? And that's why our constant focus on people has made us miss out on the ability to actually understand what products are needed out there that we can produce. That's why I'm saying trade agreements.
So having said that, Kenny, what are some of the opportunities out there for Zambia if you're able to list them down? And one would argue that, don't you think sending 30 plus SMEs into Congo is the same thing as them going to find out what Congo actually needs, and then they'll come back here and then get to work?
Then what has Ministry of Commerce been doing? You might as well fire everybody there.
Okay.
What's the point of having the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Commerce if they do not understand what Congo requires?
Yeah.
It's not like we don't know what Congo has been asking for. Instead, we spend most of our time putting SI, stopping export. We just stopped export of soybeans just recently.
Yeah.
Why? Because we stopped day-old chicks from being exported. Why? You understand? So we know what the needs are. What we needed to do is go into production and increase production of these products. So I'm giving an example, day-old chicks.
Yeah.
Pigs. Our friends in Namibia have gone to Spain to order pigs. Botswana just signed a deal with China to supply pigs. We know that China has a meat deficit of 70%. So why do we go into these bilateral agreements, sit without notebooks, without accounting for what the needs are of these countries that we're dealing with? Remember, that's the very reason why they came here in the first place, because they understand you have the natural resources, they understand you have the assets. So your mining and agriculture are your backbones. That's the only time you earn an income from zero, okay? The rest of the sectors depend on your agriculture or your mining succeeding. That's what you need to realize. Once you succeed. Now, when you talk about mining, we're just talking about copper, but we have nickel, we've got cobalt, we've got tin.
Yeah.
And tin right now has hit $30,000 a ton, way ahead of copper. And you have it in this country. So the problem is, why have institutions like UNZA if you're not going to teach yourselves how to extract value from these commodities? You understand?
Yeah.
That's what Zambia has been missing, that conversation.
Yeah, so
everyone wants to be a professional.
Yeah, so having said that, Kenny, there are some easy pickings that obviously don't need much input, even at the level of an SME going through into a bigger corporate. That will definitely put Zambia on a growth trajectory. So what are some of these pickings where you know that, you know what, if we start seeing this movement of products going into different markets outside the borders, then we're on the right path?
Number one, maize.
Okay.
Maize, we're doing 3.6 million metric tons. South Africa does 12 million metric tons, right? Congo has a deficit. Angola has a deficit. Malawi has a deficit. Zimbabwe has a deficit. Zimbabwe is doing 1.4 million metric tons. They are importing from South Africa. South Africa just supplied Congo because Zambians were not allowed to sell to Congo. You understand? You've got maize. Soybeans, easy picking.
Yeah.
Right? Botswana is buying a lot of soybeans from Zambia. These are easy pickings. Right now, the youths are putting together cooperatives trying to farm things like soybeans, maize, tomatoes. Tomatoes, very easy picking as well. Then when we talk about animals, we know the goat industry, massive. Money is to be made. Saudi Arabia wants a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
COVID has opened up opportunities for Zambia to produce and feed the world. When we talk about cattle, pigs, all these things are easy pickings, right? These are things that mature in 6 months and you're already selling. That's why I tell people that you can change the trajectory of this country between 6 to 9 months. Even fish, for crying out loud, is the easiest of them all. In 7 months, you're already selling. You can be selling your tilapia or your tiger fish, okay? So all these are easy pickings, right? The only thing is, like I said, you need to focus on these products. When you talk about mining, copper, when you talk about mining, iron ore, you've got all that, and it's all over. It's about being able to convert it into a commodity that the consumer wants.
Yeah.
And that's why we keep calling foreign investors, because we think foreign investors know better how to extract the wealth than us.
We're looking at the emancipation of Zambia as a country economically. Throughout the discussion so far, we've heard Kenny say, look, we as a country, we need to have this shift from always running to investors and bring them back home to invest. Rather, we should get into trade agreements with different countries, not just our neighbors around the country, but also looking at the bigger picture, going even as far as America, where we've heard from Kenny that there's a demand for Hassa avocado, which I think we produce here in Zambia. And then there's also demand out there in China for pigs. And of course, pigs are in abundance here. If you go to Chiwolia market there, you find pigs being slaughtered for consumption. But obviously, there's a source of pigs in the country where we definitely get these pigs. We've got goats. And there's a team that's actually crossed into DRC that was had been taken there to look at opportunities that are available in DRC. But Kenny argues to say, look, we've been going to DRC back and forth for years and years, but nothing is forthcoming. What's the point in imposing sanctions on products like maize and soya beans when you know there's already a market out there? We need to make money for us to be able to be to pay our debt. But guess what? We'll take another short break, and then, of course, by then we should be concluding when we come back with Kenny after that short break. Let's take this short break.
Hi, this is Simon Mwere Television, and you are watching Morning Daily on Spring 24 TV.
It is a good morning. Try and sound just a little bit more convincing. I want some.
It's a great morning.
There we go.
We only have 19 women in parliament. So the women's voice is critically needed now outside parliament than ever before.
We will give them the respect that an opposition political party deserves.
You are going to finish
You need to finish the trip.
Wow, we may have missed from yesterday. ERP and RARE chiefs suspended.
How many times have we been dragged to the court?
Some people will call us white-collar cadres.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
The grocery part of it.
Right, because I want to go into details of this same story, but thanks a lot for coming through. Have a good one.
So I'll start with this. This is the famous Tutene Mbalala.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, of course, the new Dawn administration will argue and say, look, we're new, we found this mess, and we're trying to fix things and make it more viable for investment, whether it's local or foreign, to take effect. But would you agree with them that it's too soon for you, let's say if you are trying to take them to school on how they should be doing things, would you blame them, or you'd rather blame the agencies like ZDA or other agencies? I'm asking this because I know someone out there will be saying, give them time, give them time, give them time.
Yoela, it's down to priorities. What is the new Dawn government going to prioritize? Let me give you a practical example. KCM has a leach plant, it's got a process plant. KCM is underperforming. Trafigura is making more money using KCM to process concentrate that's coming out of Congo. You understand? I proposed, why can't KCM be open up to local procurement? Why can't it allow local sellers to sell copper to them, or allow local producers to process their copper into cathode so that they can sell the cathode and make money in this country? This is what we're talking about. You don't need parliament to make this decision. It's a very important business decision. Mopani cannot do that because Mopani only has a smelter. They don't have a leach plant, so they're not able to process the other type of copper, which we call an oxide, right? The green one. They only process the other one, which is called a sulfide. Now, copper belt is largely a sulfide mineral base with some oxides here and there, and that's why KCM has a leach plant and Mopani doesn't. So when you open up an opportunity like that, you're going to have people from Wense in Wapula bringing in copper into KCM. You're going to have people from Northwestern Province bringing in copper into KCM, okay? Either to sell it or to have it processed in that mine. I know the pricing from Mopani for if they're going to process copper for you out of 1,000 metric tons. Okay, 1,000 to 2,000 metric tons. Now, in order to achieve that, in concentrate, you need to be in production for at least 3 to 4 months if you're running a small process plant. You get it? So these are some of the things we're saying. New Deal. There's so many New Dawn. There's so many things that can be quick game changers, but they have to be in the trade space. Right? If they make the mistake and start focusing on consumption issues like the previous government, it will be too late. Yeah. What they need to do right now is trade, 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 trade.
The country can actually be independent economically by doing the right thing, and one of the things that he has mentioned is best for the country is trade agreements. Instead of going out there to get FDIs, foreign direct investments, let's get into trade agreements with every potential market that is out there for any of the produce we have, starting from even the most common, which is our copper, all the way down to simple things like soya beans. And it feels within 8 months or 9 months, Zambia can actually start making money easily from its own produce. But guess what? I guess at this point, as he said, Zambia can be economically independent. Maybe in the new Dawn administration, we're heading that direction. I would have loved to get from Kenny his views on how sustainable the growth that is about to start can be and for how long. But on that note, thank you for joining me on this week's Money Watch. I'll have you again next week. Otherwise, take it easy.